What up, spiritual politics in the building?
Man, bag chaser, what's happening? Can you hear me?
Chilling, chilling, my friend. Trying to figure it out. I can hear you.
Perfect, man. First of all, I'm a bag chaser, so I'm with you. All
Shout
right,
out to you.
but I got a question for you though, right?
Okay. Okay.
It's a two-part question, but let me make a statement first. One, I think as black folks, and I'm spiritual politics over here on YouTube, but
Of course. Give it. Shout out your channel. Shout out your channel.
as yeah, spiritual politics right here on YouTube. Then we got another one called Hip Hop Astrology TV, by far the dopest shit that's ever explained in astrology. But
Talk
anyway,
to him. Talk to him.
with black folks, we're gonna have a severe issue because one, we wasn't there. Two, as I said the last time you brought me up, some things that we may not know that we don't talk about, and maybe because we don't know is there's documentation that's already on the record that shows the United States government was always against slavery. One. Two, it was inherited from the crown. You got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, it's two mindsets in this country: free states and slave states. I ain't going to get into the history right now, but the people who were there, the slaves, bro, they got a chance to join the Union Army, come back down south with guns, and started killing the very people that was suppressing them. And the United States government did this. Harriet Tubman was in the Union Army, and nobody wants to talk about that. But I digressed off that. If you anybody want to see me, we can come over to spiritual politics. But here go my two things for you, Anton. Let's
What up,
just say,
Bruiser? What up, Bruiser?
let's just say, trauma
What's up, man?
from slavery has been passed through the DNA, and there's studies that suggest that. So let's say this trash black culture that we have really comes from being traumatized through slavery, through civil rights, into the current generation. Let's just say that's true for the lack of argument, one. And then my second thing will be black folks did get a right to vote in 1870 via the 15th Amendment,
Hmm.
but when 1876, that election was so close, it was a compromise that was on the record that said, hey, we're going to withdraw federal troops out, out of the South. And then that became the birthplace of Jim Crow and the clapback. And we don't get a right to vote until 95 years later with the Voters' Rights Act of 64, 65 under LBJ. So we
Hmm.
got a right to vote from the amendment, but there's a 95-year setback when Jim Crow and the federal government ain't coming to our aid like they just did in the Civil War. So that's clear. That's on the record. There's a 95-year setback while they doing everything to us. So if we got the trauma passed through DNA, and let's again, for the sake of argument, let's just say that's true, and we can see through the 15th Amendment we didn't get a right to vote from that 95-year setback. How then can you deny us reparations?
What do you mean? Because y'all lost.
Go ahead. What you mean?
Because
We
y'all
lost.
lost. That's how I can deny it. Okay, so here's the thing. After all of that, how can you make me give you reparations?
Well, because as the government under the 15th Amendment, you
See, if
guarantee.
it no no listen, if it was
Mhm.
me, I wouldn't even be negotiating. I would just be like, fuck y'all.
I'm with you.
Get it how you live.
I'm with you.
Get it
But
how you
as the
live.
government, but the government
I
made a
don't think. Listen,
contractual agreement.
losers aren't owed anything. The
Mm,
problem. Listen, the problem with losers or people that are on the losing side is that you allow for them to survive, right? And usually what happens is they grow up entitled or they grow up with resentment. I think that countries and different places and continents, and they've all been conquered over time. And I don't believe that anybody is retroactively owed anything.
Let me ask you this, Anton. You say losers. Did the Japanese Americans lose? And did the Native Americans lose?
Yep,
They were reparated.
probably. Yeah, they were.
mhm.
I don't
So
think that
was
should
it?
have happened either. They just lost.
Oh, so you just don't think, even though there was other races that were reparated, you
Mm-hmm.
also think that they should have never gotten reparated.
Mm-mm.
So even though America has a validity, they able to validate whether a race or a country has been wrong or a people's been wrong, and they've given out reparations.
Mm-hmm.
You're predisposed to say that you totally disagree with all that.
100%.
This conversation don't even make no sense.
because we lost. But hold,
100%. Listen, I don't even listen. The people that deserved anything isn't even alive today.
I agree.
Right. So the people who deserve it, they
So
didn't
you
get it.
don't. I don't think that anybody can come back behind them and say, "Nah, listen, I'm coming to get." No,
So when you
listen.
say the
If
people,
you
so
if
you
you want something, then you gonna have to compete for it or take it, and then and whatever happens and whatever the bloodshed that happens as a result of it, that's the way life goes.
so
But
you don't believe your loins, you don't believe the people that come from you, your ancestors, well not your ancestors, but your seeds and the generation of moving forward is not an extension of yourself.
No.
You don't believe that. So you don't believe your great grandbabies is gonna be affected by what happens to you today.
Yeah, it will be affected. Even the
So if
Bible said
something
the children are the ones that pay.
hold on, so let me ask you this,
Hold on,
Anton.
wait. Let me explain. The children are the ones that pay for the sins of their fathers.
Okay, so let's say there's no sin. Let's say you committed no sin. Let's just say that um someone came in there and burnt and destroyed all your business, burnt up your houses and all that stuff, and took
Hmm.
your life.
Hmm.
So you have nothing to pass down to your daughter,
Hmm.
your daughter and daughter's daughter, and her kids' kids.
Hmm.
You don't think that you should be if your great grandbaby said, "Hey, look, they took my great grandfather's properties. He had an inheritance
No,
and
I
all this."
lost.
You
I
don't
lost.
think
so losers
how?
don't have
Okay,
any remedy in law.
hold on. I'm trying to
I
understand what you mean
lost.
by
Like if
loss.
I didn't have, if I wasn't fully able to put my family in a position of power by being able to provide and protect from them, whatever that looks like, then I lost.
No, what I'm saying is you were able. It was just stolen
No, I
from you.
wasn't because they came in and they took everything.
So what is that? That means somebody stole it from you.
No, that means that I lost. We went to
I
war
mean,
and I
you were a
lost.
law. Hold on, you're a law-abiding citizen. You pay your taxes, and these things was ripped from you. How was that considered a
Laws are
loss?
written by winners.
So you saying anybody, if the person who commits a crime against you is a winner, and the person who is the victim is a loser?
How do we determine who is the person that defines what's a crime or not? Because slavery
The
was legal.
government.
Slavery used to be legal. It
Well,
wasn't a
I'm not talking.
crime. It was black people owned slaves.
Okay, let's not look at slavery
Hold
because
on, no, Bruiser. Let's look at it in its entirety. Black people were slave owners.
well, it makes no sense to look at slavery.
It does because that's the whole conversation.
No, let me tell you. Well, let me tell you why it makes no sense to look at slavery. Because if we have to look at it from a validity point, is how is America reparating other races or other people that have been wrong? They never gave reparations to anybody who was in bondage.
I don't think
Never.
that they should have.
They haven't, and they're not. I'm saying
I'm with that.
the people that are giving reparations, they gave it to the Japanese Americans because they
If
were wrong.
China come over here and they invade the United States of America and they beat us today, are they supposed to reparate the people that survive?
Hold on, say that again.
If China comes over into America and they defeat us today, and the people that survive, are they supposed to reparate us?
No, but
Then what are we talking about
hold on.
then, Bruiser?
But let me just make this point though. So, okay, let's say let's
Oh,
say what.
listen, I know I'm
Okay,
a C,
I'm just going.
I know I'm a C
I'm not going.
student, but all I'm saying is if another country come over here and kick our ass, and then after whatever the fallout is, whoever it is survive, do they have a right to go to China and say, but we want you to compensate us for destroying our land?
No, they don't. And that's not my argument. So you're creating a scenario that I'm not even pushing. The scenario I'm trying to give to you is, let's say we go to war with China, and and during the war, we just start finding every Asian American or Chinese American in the United States that was born here. We start incarcerating them
Hmm.
during the war just because
Hmm.
they're Chinese descent.
Hmm.
After the war, according to history, what happened to the Japanese Americans during World War II, those Americans were reparated
Hmm.
because they were wrongly interned in camps
I
during the
don't think
war.
they should have been.
I don't think they should have, and then America didn't think they should have. That's why they've been reparated. But let
Hmm.
me ask you
But
this:
but but you missing a point though, Bruiser. One of the points is the why. right? We don't just give away, or people don't get reparated because people feel like they did something wrong to the people. And this is the problem with black people. They don't understand politics, right? They don't understand business. They don't understand money. The reason why people get reparated is because there's always an ulterior motive that's associated behind it. We don't just give money to other countries because we feel sorry that they going through problems or they getting destroyed or whatever like that. Because
Right.
if that was a situation, then we would be going over into the different countries that has turmoil and chaos like Haiti right now, and we would liberate them from what it is that they're experiencing as far as the civil war that's happening within their own borders. We don't do stuff because we feel sorry for people. We do stuff because there's another motive or another reason, underlying reason as to how it could either benefit us, it could paint us in a better light for other people that we're trying to do business with, as far as other countries. There's always an ulterior motive. What black people are failing to realize is that they don't understand that people are not giving them something just because they're begging for it. If you want something, you have to incentivize or give people a reason to actually justify putting this country in even more debt than they already are, because they can't afford to even service the debt that we already have. You have to give the country a reason as to why it is that they should do it. That's the
Now, listen,
true nature
I agree with you.
of what life is. And if you study nature, if you study history, if you study the history of slavery for over the last 700 years, you would understand that at no point did anybody ever give something to somebody because they felt bad for them. That's never happened in the history of.
And I'm not advocating.
As a matter of fact,
I'm not advocating that they should do it.
if you go by Christian principles, which is largely the foundation of what the majority of these laws in this country is based off of, God said, wipe out everything that we don't agree with. When he would command the children of Israel, and he would command different tribes to go into and war with other countries in order to take over their land, he didn't say, hey, they don't deserve to get it over there. He said, go in, wipe out everything, destroy everything, kill their babies, kill their children, kill the kids, kill the mamas, don't take their chicks as concubines, don't do nothing. And he would punish them, and they would be punished as a result of being disobedient as a result of it.
So, well, let me ask you this, Anton. What was the motive behind the Tulsa race massacre?
I don't know.
Was there,
Oh,
was there a
you
motive?
said Tulsa?
Yeah, well, they lost about
Like Wall
$200
Street.
million in business and economics.
Well, black people lost $200 million.
Well, I'm saying like so you saying in that case it was just a loss. It
Yeah,
wasn't a like.
no, black people lost. Yes.
And I always understood Tulsa to be more of a citizen thing, right? It wasn't a government thing. It was a citizen thing where you got the KKK, you got disgruntled white folks as citizens that's putting that work in, but it's not the government. But my question to you, Anton, as well, what about the trauma? If, let's just say again,
Oh, well, you
if
saying the
trauma,
government?
if
So
trauma has,
you saying the
hold on,
KKK
hold on,
had
bro.
access to military planes to fly bombs over?
Well, no, I'm not. Well, if that be the case, because
People are
that's
keep saying that it's a debt owed. I see people in the chat keep saying it's a debt owed. Based off of what? And then when you ask them based off of what, they say because they gave it to this person and they gave it to this person and they gave it to this person. That doesn't mean it's a debt owed. Nobody ever
No,
substantiated that anybody owed anything. They're just asking for it based off of relating it to other people that has received reparations. That does not mean it is a debt owed. You can't tell me I owe you something based off of what? How you feel? Or
no,
based
no.
off of
The,
stuff
the
that
the
I did
Tulsa
to
the
somebody
money
else?
that's lost in Tulsa should be owed based off of the insurance they had for that the business they were running. They
Okay,
had
then go and get
insurance
it
and they
then.
were paying taxes.
Then go and get
And
it.
they haven't got their 200. I think it was anywhere a range from 30 million to 200 million in damages that they haven't received yet. And then when you got the Red Summer, you know about Red Summer 1919. There's $27 million lost on that. They had insurance on that. They didn't give
Then
them the money.
then go collect.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And then today, well, I mean, it's a lot of incalculable events like the 1950s and 60s, the urban renewal, displacement of residents. There's just no way to calculate that.
Listen, the
These
way that
people
I've
had home
understood
insurance.
history to work is that when you want something, you go and take it.
So you're advocating that if they don't do you right, if they don't right their wrongs, you're saying that people should stand up and revolt and go and take it.
Either they could do something about it or they need to shut up. But either way, I'm just tired of hearing about it.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because the way they're going about it is saying, hey, look, you owe it because you paid them, but there's nothing. They're not really substantiating and breaking down what it is. How do you come to the term to where you should be owed? I'm actually you take a level deeper. You take a little bit
If
of research.
somebody come to me tomorrow and said, "Yo, your great great grandfather did something to my great 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 grandfather, and he took his land," I'm gonna be like, "Well, your father should have been stronger about that situation. I don't owe you shit. I'm not giving you nothing. You ain't never getting a dime from me." I wish somebody would come to me and tell me that a great great grandfather that I didn't know and you didn't know took something from each other and that I owe them something as a result of it. I'll be like, man, suck my dick.
I got you. You coming from a man perspective, like a sovereign king, right?
That's what I'm
Which
gonna
is good.
say. I'm gonna be like, bro,
But
suck my
I
dick.
got you. I
Do
got you. You
something.
coming from a man perspective, but Anton, the government absolutely said its citizens have a right to vote, and it allowed its states governments that participates inside of the union to go against the federal law. So, do the government owe reparations, any type of repair, if we got the mental trauma issue? And like I said, there's a 95-year setback where we had a right to vote, but we couldn't vote, and they allowed Jim Crow to happen physically as a government to its citizens. The government's responsibility to its
Okay, so
citizens.
go and get it then. What you gonna do? What y'all gonna do? What y'all gonna do?
No, no, you're right. Because the Declaration of Independence is my favorite. When you don't like it, you got a right to tear it down if you
Then
don't
go and
like
do
it.
it. Go and
I
do
like
it.
it. You know what I'm saying? I get it, but I just
I
wanted to
got
see where
I
you.
my
I
method
just
of
wanted to see where you was at with that.
my method of reparations don't include, hey, go give me this lump sum or go open up a
What do you
secondary.
think reparations should look like, Bruiser?
My reparations need to look like men and women coming together and reestablishing love, specifically black people, because we're talking about black people being rebel.
Uh,
Re-embracing marriage, as a way of building strength in numbers, so that you can have some type of voting power so you can have some type of mutual interest that you can move off of, so you can vote in, get legislation. You can vote in politicians. You
Oh
can you
snap!
can
I'm
build
on.
economy amongst each other in the
There
community
we go. Can't hear
to where
nothing.
you can actually build businesses again. The only way we can do that is through strength in numbers, and it's gonna have to do through our children. But we have to parent our kids under the same household so they can have the likelihood of being successful.
you know why
But
the federal government ain't never got to worry about black people ever getting reparations? Because
why?
black people don't even, they ain't never got to worry about black people coming together. Ever. Ever. They
Especially
ain't
to
never got to worry about y'all getting on code, coming together, none of that. At all.
I
Why
Listen,
you
agree.
figure?
black, because the history of us says that we divided against each other.
Yeah, and
Bro,
the
listen,
American and the
listen. We
American
got
Negro
Bloods
You
and
talking? Are you
make
Crips.
us
talking about
balanced.
Willie Lynch later?
We got Bloods and Crips, and they both black.
Talking about the Willie Lynch? Oh no, you talking about
Just the
gangs?
nature of how black people think. You ain't never got to worry about black people coming together to do anything except tear each other down.
Hold
You
on.
ain't
So you
never
saying
got
that
to.
was our? Is that our original nature, or is that nature? Has our minds been tampered with? The
We was
exact
sold into slavery by other black people.
But okay, I get the
It was
business
black
aspect
slave
of it.
owners, Bruiser.
No, you looking at the business. You talking about the business aspect of selling
I'm
and
talking about the
receiving something.
nature of how people think.
I'm talking about that. I'm asking you about the nature of how we move, like divided, like we quarrel with each other. Like, where does that come from?
I just think that that's human nature. I don't think that any group throughout history has ever bonded together until it was under duress. All Chinese people don't fuck with all Chinese people. All white people don't even fuck with all white people. Right? What we like to do is we like to group ourselves off in order to align with people that can identify with our trauma. And that's never a solution to success. The only reason, in my opinion, that the alphabet community continued to be successful is that they all aligned based off of something that they wanted, regardless of where they stood individually. So you could be a gay guy, right? You could be a gay black guy. You could be a trans person. And then they just continue to add letters over into the alphabet because they seen a common thing that they wanted collectively, regardless of whether it is that where they stood as an individual, right? You could be a rich gay person, you could be a poor gay person. It didn't matter if you wanted to, if this person liked you because they wanted to use the bathroom or they didn't like you, regardless, right? They all had a common goal. And usually, in my opinion, the thing that helps people align with each other based off of a common goal is being so far under duress that you have no problem but to respond, right? So I'll give you an example. When you talk about the freeing of the slaves. The freeing of the slaves had nothing to do with whether or not they actually looked at black people as a good thing. It was to weaken a specific group of people. There was an ulterior motive that came along with the freeing of the slaves. It didn't have nothing to do with the fact that they liked black people or they wanted to give black people rights. It was an ulterior motive that was assigned to it, right? So when you look at all of how things happen historically, it doesn't matter about how people feel with each other until you actually have a common theme or a common goal that severely affects what it is that you have going on. I'll give you another example. As long as you keep people tied to a democratic mindset, in my opinion, right? You never have to worry about people commonly uniting under a specific mindset to get anything done within this country, because your dependency is largely going to be tied to somebody giving you something, right? Historically, people have never got anything that's asked for something. They've always taken it. Now, whether that be by putting somebody in a position of power that then advocates for them in the federal government, whether it be aligning with the enemy, even in the civil rights movement, the majority of the success came with aligning with other white people that then thought like them. It didn't come just based off of the idea that people wanted something and they advocated for it, and then somebody felt bad about it. People was willing to get spat on. People was willing to be freedom riders. They was willing to go inside of restaurants and get dragged out and made examples of. And even the Martin Luther Kings and all of them, they went to jail 1,000 times. You ain't got to worry about that happening in society today because everybody is soft. Everybody is soft now. And so nobody is willing to suffer. They only willing to complain about it. And that's the difference between the people of yesteryear and the people of today, is because they were already under duress. Slavery was already real bad. They was already being hanged in the South. So it was nothing for them to suffer through what it is that they seen to be a benefit to them long term, or what was going to happen to their ancestors. But when you see things happening today, people are too soft. They too coddled. Technology is too far along. The only time that you started to see resistance over in Ukraine is when they started getting bombed on. Then they started fighting back. They weren't proactive. They weren't sitting there trying to make sure that things happen and so on and so on. In my opinion, that's why we see North Korea as such a problem, right? Because
So
he don't
basically, you
give a
saying
fuck. He don't give a
so
fuck.
basically,
And so when you see people today, let me tell you what I see when I see black people today. Weak as fuck. Overwhelmingly, they not gonna do nothing. They ain't got nothing for you. The only thing that black people largely unite in is trauma issues and anything around the hip hop community. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing that they unite in, right? And so when you have a weak, coddled society that hasn't suffered enough, because I'm not talking about your ancestors, I'm talking about you. These people are weak. They don't even know what their ancestors went through. They don't even honor their ancestors enough to acknowledge what they did enough with their actions to actually go to the polls and vote. It's people that died for the opportunity for you to vote, and you don't even exercise that. That's how I know you're weak. It's because you don't even stand on the shoulders of giants to do the things that they died for. So how you gonna sit here and advocate for what it is that you want when they died for something that you're not even acknowledging in the first place? You don't honor your women. You don't honor your children. You don't love your people. You sell crack to your own communities. And it's easy to infiltrate you because you don't stand for nothing. And so we ain't never got to worry about. Listen, the one thing that the United States ain't never got to do, all they going to do is keep you on that titty. They're going to throw you a couple little student loan forgiveness. They going to give you a little bit here. They're going to continue to tie you to the Democratic plantation. They're going to have feminism coming in and infiltrate what it is that you got going on so that you can get distracted. They're going to then completely substitute the civil rights movement and what it is that's happening in the black community with the gay agenda, which is exactly what happened when you got a black president. And they're going to continue to distract you from the things that's meaningful to you because you haven't suffered enough. And until you actually completely under the thumb of who it is that you identify with the enemy, and America is smart. They've now figured out that you don't completely oppress somebody. You don't completely step on them. You just give them a little bit of breathing room, and then you ain't never got to worry about any kind of problems or trouble from them, because as long as they're able to breathe, we know that they're coddled enough to actually not do the thing that's in their best interest. And
Okay,
so
so Anton, let me ask you
you never
this.
gotta worry about black people ever standing up for anything other than to get mad at the women that they having sex with and having kids out of wedlock, taking them to family court. You ain't never
I
gotta
got
worry
it.
about black people.